Hola a todos. Hi everyone. Welcome to Metafit Metamind podcast, a space where we leave taboo topics behind and dive into the interconnected worlds of physical and mental health and well-being. I am Carla Rodriguez, your host and trainer and coach of NLP and hypnosis, as we get on transformative conversations with leaders, entrepreneurs, and changemakers. Each episode is designed to inspire you to unlock barriers and embrace growth, mindfulness, and purpose in your life. Whether it's around mental health, wellness, or entrepreneurial journeys, we've got powerful insights just for you.
Being curious, being a lifelong learner, knowing just how to navigate and learning more
And you
about
need to tell the world that you are ready and manifest and visualize and become this version of
The
yourself.
real knowing of who I am has just begun. This was the light.
Like life is happening to me, but I am able to create the life that I want.
So subscribe now and follow the podcast to listen to these powerful stories and be part of this community of empowered individuals who are striving for greatness and legacy. Because remember, raise your voice, share your story. Make sure to connect with us on social media at Metafit Metamind Podcast, on my other page at Coach Carlita, and be part of our journey to inspire and uplift others. I'm so excited to finally bring Jenny C. Cohen to the podcast. It took me a while to have her on and even longer to actually publish this episode. We actually met earlier this year at Podfest, so I'm so excited. I'm just grateful to finally get to hear her story, for you to hear her story. She is a confidence coach, a dancer, a mama who helps women embody their confidence through mind-body connection. Her journey of resilience, of healing, of transformation is so powerful, and I know you're going to take away so much from this conversation. You're going to hear us laugh together. You're going to hear us just kind of like talk about the process of us just rooming together, right? Because she's my roomie, you're my roommate, girl, you know. And we send each other videos on Instagram all the time, and I'm excited. So please enjoy this conversation and let us know what you thought. All right. Thank you so much for coming back to Metafit Metamind podcast. I am Carla Rodriguez, and I'm so excited to have an amazing, amazing guest. She was my roomie at Podfest. She is an amazing coach, a dancer, a mama, and so much more. Just from what I know her, she's doing all these things. So thank you so much, Jenny, for being on the show.
Carla, I am so blessed to know you. You're my sister from like another mister, probably another few other lifetimes. I'm very grateful we got to be roommates at Podfest. And so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And I've been waiting to have you on. I was like, there's no way that I can't have Jenny on the show. She is so like, she can teach you so much about like thousand things, yo. And of course she chooses a few things to share with people, but I was fortunate to kind of get first person point of view of Jenny. But first, like just so somebody can get to know a little bit about you, who is Jenny? I missed that laugh.
All right. Currently, the current version of Jenny 2.0 is I am a confidence coach. Because of my years of using dance as a way to being comfortable in front of people, I want to help women embody confidence in who they are through being present, through somatic, which means mind and body connection exercises, and then ultimately getting rid of the blocks that keep you from being seen for who you are and accepted for who you are, which is today someone who is perfectly perfect, even in your imperfections, because we have a birthright to being seen and loved the way we are right now.
For sure, for sure. And I love that you say that it's that birthright and who you are right now, because there's so many changes that happen, so many transformations and things. And I know that hasn't been something that just came to you like, boom, I got it. So I want to ask you, what has been that journey or that chapter turn for you, maybe even that has brought you to where you're at now? Because of course, like I said, it's transformation, evolving. Evolution is the
Yeah.
word I was looking for, right? So what's that process been, that story for you?
Four score, and I'm kidding. All right, so I am 56 years young, and I would say that the pivotal, real transformation occurred when I became a mom. I got married and hid behind my perceptions of what it means to be a wife. Because I was told by my mom right before I got married that my job was to listen to my mother-in-law, which was the worst advice ever. Sorry, mom, but it was true because instead of her saying, I kind of wish, so I'm gonna tell you, audience, okay? When you enter into a relationship with another person, the goal is to grow together with them. Because over the years, you will shift, and your partner should also be shifting alongside you. And the goal is for you to form your own family, no matter what your culture is. And then outside the family are the rings of family and in-laws and family and friends, et cetera, et cetera. There shouldn't be a third person party as part of your relationship. I'm sorry. That's just I learned that through the hard way.
Yeah.
And then I started to really, really come into myself when I first became a mom. That's when I started to have a true boundary ability.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I couldn't set boundaries, Carla. You could run me over and I'd be like, oh, please, sir, can I have some more?
That's
And now,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
okay. I'll give you
Mhm.
another 1,000 chances, even as you cut me in the assault, right?
Yeah.
However,
A
once
lot
I
of
got
that
pregnant,
pleasing, huh?
it was the pleasing for safety.
Uh-huh.
Pleasing for safety. I didn't have a strong Asian American community growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the 70s, right? Where you it wasn't that you even got a seat at the table. You were lucky to be in the room, even if you were the server, right? Or the person who scrapes the crumbs off the table.
Yeah.
You were lucky to be there, right? So that's kind of the way. I mean, we barely had Lucy Liu back then.
Yeah.
She's an up and coming actress. There were no gold medalists, Christy Yamaguchi when I was growing up. There was no
Mhm.
representation, right? For
Yeah.
me, with the Charlie's Angels with Farrah Fawcett, all right? So if anyone knows who the heck that was,
Yeah.
Farrah
Yeah.
Fawcett, and then the brunette angel, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, she's got bangs. She kind of looks Asian if I squint my eyes a little bit. And
Yeah.
like with her brown hair, she looks like me, right?
Yeah.
No representation. So for me, once I became a mom, though, this natural instinct of preservation and setting boundaries kicked in. And I still, though, wasn't feeling safe in my body, Carla. So it wasn't really until I got breast cancer in my 40s, and then my
Huh?
children went into distress. So my kids are through in vitro fertilization, IVF. They're like
Mhm.
little science, like test tube babies we like to joke about before it
Yeah.
became, this thing where everyone does it, right?
Before it was more
Mainstream.
accepted, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
mainstream. And my husband had testicular cancer, so we had to go through that route for me to get pregnant.
Wow, both of you did. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we ended up both having cancer. So for the kids, when I homeschooled them because they were miracle babies, and when they were little, they wanted to do competitive sports. And at the New York that we lived in, the state that we lived in, you can't pull your kids out of school to travel every 2 weeks. So I ended up just
Yeah.
homeschooling them through first grade, second grade, third grade, and then they switched from baton twirling
Yeah.
to rhythmic gymnastics. And that's pretty intensive training because when they got
Uh-huh.
serious at 7, and they were told at 7 they were too old to be doing
Wow.
this sport. Yes, and they had no future. And I was like rolling up my sleeves. What do you mean my kids have no future?
Yeah.
Like, excuse me? Like, a little shoulder roll, like, uh-huh.
How dare you?
Okay, then what do you
Yeah.
mean? Like, my kids were
Yeah.
like, no, mommy, we want to really do more of this. And I'm like, oh, this is so expensive. All right, let's go, let's go. And so, we just continue homeschooling so they could train at the level they wanted to, Carla. And we were very privileged. We could financially do it. However, during that whole period of time, you can get lost, right? As a mom doing
Yeah.
shuttling your kids back and forth, homeschooling, all the competitions.
Yeah. It's like all them, like
All
for
them,
for
yeah,
their safety,
yeah,
so they
yeah,
are good to go.
yeah. Homeschooling at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
then they were like, we don't want to do rhythmic, we want to do competitive dance. So I was like, all right, we'll do that.
How
And
old were
I
they
didn't
then?
realize that behind closed doors, competitive dance, unless you're really careful in your selection, sometimes we just got the short straw. The people present really positive and future, and in front of parents, and then behind closed doors, if they're going to be a winning studio, okay? Some of them are pretty abusive behind closed doors. They're pretty abusive, and You know, some of the stories my kids told me after they left the school, I was like, okay, good thing you told me now, because there'd be some charges.
Yeah. Yeah.
There'd be like taking my earring out moments, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So those moments. And then during that time when my kids were starting to explore fencing as a sport, I found the lump and got breast cancer.
Wow.
And during that period, one of my kids went into really severe distress, Carla, and I wasn't present. I was in OT. I kicked into very clinical mode. I was like, we got you, you know? We could set you up with the therapist. And so, trigger warning for your audience. They were self-harming. And so I was like, I locked up all the sharp objects and still wasn't present. And this precious miracle baby had a very severe relapse. And that's when I was like, oh, I'm not present. I didn't even know they were lying to my face. They were fine. And we had to really get present and be there for them. And then they're thriving college students now, doing great. It
Yeah.
took some years though, you know, Carla. It took
Yeah.
a lot of me.
How long was your physical healing process?
Oh, okay. So honestly,
Hmm.
the breast cancer treatment was 2014, 2015, and I'm about 10 years out,
Hmm.
and I'm just starting to get back into my body,
Wow.
understanding.
Hmm.
Okay, so we're going to clarify. You and I
Like
have had this
understanding it,
conversation.
or being aware of it, or what do you mean?
Well, yeah, you and I talked about this a lot
Yes.
because folks, like, we would be up until 3 in the morning talking when we just had to go to sleep.
We're like, we gotta go to sleep. We're speaking tomorrow. We're volunteering tomorrow.
Yeah, well, no, no. Um, the I didn't realize I was never in my body. And you're always in service. Like, if you're in a very traditional culture, right? The women serve. You take care of the family. We're never ever told you take care of yourself first. Ever. It's seen as very foreign. It's seen as being selfish. That's at least in my culture, right?
Yep, yep. No,
And
I hear
and
that too.
and so I didn't realize that in order to be 100% there for my children, I had to learn to be 100% there for me. For me. Now, my parents loved me, okay? They still love me. They sacrificed, quote unquote, a lot for me and my brother. At the same time, they came from severe poverty, right? Like, we're talking about like Shrek country, dirt floors, Shrek outhouse, no electricity, no running water type of childhoods. So for them, it was enough for them to make sure I have fresh food. That's a big thing for them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know that my mom is on survivor mode for most of her life. She never took care of herself, and now has she's in her retired years, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now coaching my mother on how to be present in her 80s because if she's not present, she'll fall and break something. And we just had a fall in December where she
Oh
broke
man.
5 ribs, you know,
Yeah.
because she was worried about something else and not in her body, and she
She didn't
fell.
have time for that probably at the time.
No, she was on survivor mode, you know. I some of the audience of your audience will understand, right? And some won't. It's a very foreign to be like, what do you mean you were working at the age of 6 and had to, you know, the money all went to your parents. You didn't get an allowance? No, they didn't have an allowance.
It
They,
was
you
different
know,
times. Yeah. I remember my mom talking about how she's from El Salvador, and when she was maybe 7, 9, something like that, they would go out and sell pupusas, the dish, the Salvadorian dish. And that money she would go back and have to give to my grandmother. And she didn't have to. They did it because they wanted to, because they sometimes would have for food, they would eat tortillas with salt. Like she told me, she's like, that's what we would eat
that,
sometimes.
yeah.
It's
I
crazy.
mean, my mom told me that, you know, because she came from a family of 9, at least 9 children that made it, right? So there was a stillborn baby
There were big
that were
families
mixed.
back then too.
Yeah, well, because you weren't sure who could survive. Well, they would pop out the babies, one for, you know, free labor.
Yeah. Yeah.
2, there was no such thing as birth control.
Yeah.
And 3, you had a lot of babies because you weren't sure about the mortality of your kids.
That, and in the future, they would take care of you.
Exactly.
Because even
That's the
even
fourth
in my
thing.
age, like that, I saw a lot of that, and that was the idea that I grew up with. Not that it was um intentionally told, but I saw it, right? And I always said, okay, one day I'm gonna have to take care of my mom.
It's
You
inferred.
know,
It's inferred. It's like
yeah,
you grow up in it,
inferred. And at this
right?
point, I probably will a little bit have to take care of her because
Up.
they didn't know. They didn't know any better.
They didn't know any better. And then, well, for my mom though, because they had so many kids to feed, you didn't eat what you couldn't grow. right? And your birthday present every year was one egg because they sold the
Wow.
rest.
Yeah.
So one time she said about how one of my uncles stole an egg. He stole an egg that wasn't his birthday. He had his ass beat, Carla. Beat because
Yeah.
he was, I mean, you're literally eating the livelihood of the family. I mean, I get 2
Mm-hmm.
eggs a day. Could you imagine 1 egg a day? Some of the
Oh my
audience members,
gosh.
could you
Yeah.
imagine 1 egg? That was your birthday present.
My stepson would not even know how to fathom that. When we're running low on eggs, he's like, Carlos, we're running low on eggs, or we're not gonna have eggs anymore. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, for me, we have a running joke. I mean, I've resolved a lot of that
Yeah.
residual generational trauma, right?
Yeah.
I would say to my husband, it doesn't happen so much now because I've healed that part of me, but there
Mm-hmm.
would always be this like anxiety when the fridge would get empty,
Yeah. 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 No, it
right?
can still
I would have
happen.
like, right? You too? I'd be like,
Sometimes
honey,
unconsciously, it's like,
yeah,
oh,
there's no food in the
why?
fridge.
Why
Like,
do
yeah,
yeah.
right, right. I mean, now I'm kind of like, oh, thank God we ate everything. We're not throwing any food out. But
Yeah.
back then, it was like, even if we didn't eat the food,
Yeah.
I had to have the fridge full, and then I would feel some security when I opened the
Mm-hmm.
door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so throughout the years, you started to become present. How
Mhm.
did you start becoming present? Because, maybe at first when you discovered, my kids are self-harming, I gotta lock this. The way you said it, right? And this is maybe the way I understood it, it just was very like, this is what I have to do. No, maybe no, I don't know if there was feelings behind it. Maybe you're like, okay, I gotta take care of my kids, lock those things away. But then when it happened again, you're like, huh, it happened again. So, how is it that you, like, maybe what is the first thing or something that you think, like, actually made you say, huh, where have I been? It's time to get
Yes,
present.
I love that question. Well, here's the thing. How often today, you, Carla, and audience members, and even me now still, do you realize, oh my gosh, the day just went by and I don't know where the hours went?
Yeah.
Okay, or like I'll be driving on automatic pilot and I won't
Mm-hmm.
know how I got somewhere,
Yeah. It's so
right?
crazy.
Yeah, and I noticed how often that was happening back then. And so what I had to do was, well, what were some ways that were easy for me to get present? Because here's the thing, you talked about how I love to dance. Well, in before the breast cancer, I loved to dance because it was one of the few things I could get present
Yeah.
with. When you dance to music, you're lighting up every part of your brain. So neuroscience has shown that and mapped it out.
Yes.
That any person dancing to music, it lights up every part of our brain and it unifies us and gets us present pretty clear right now,
It
right?
also helps with preventing Alzheimer's and dementia in the future.
All of that, right?
Yes.
And what happens though is if you're a dancer, like if you do it enough, you can start to use that as an escape with anything that you love that's a passion. It can become an escape, right? And so I was using that as an escape from how much pain my body really was after breast cancer treatment. Like
Wow.
now I can say I can be pretty honest with people. The treatment that they use to save you is actually hurt your body tremendously so you can stay alive, right? And I wasn't also willing to admit and understand and even acknowledge the pain of my heart growing up the way I did. And so I didn't want to be present. And I went, oh, I got to get present. How do I get present? How do I get present? Oh, wait, I'm using dance as an escape. Okay. I intuitively got a lowdown around that time to foster kittens. I always fostered kittens before. However, I set up, because we just moved to Salt Lake City. I formally had set up fostering kittens with the Humane Society. And around that time, they called and said, would you like to foster a kitten? My answer was immediately yes. Yes, because when you foster a baby kitten, similar to a baby, right? You have to be present to know when the baby goes into distress. Babies of any kind don't tell you, I'm hungry. They don't tell you, I'm constipated. They don't tell you, I don't feel good. You must read their body signs. How do you read their body signs? You got to get present, right? And
Yes.
so when I was fostering 3 kittens right after my daughter was in this acute situation, all she did was sleep and eat, and I would take care of the kittens.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take care of neonatals, because I specialize in newborn kittens, you're literally taking care of them every 2 hours throughout the night for about a week and a half, and then they
Yeah.
start to lengthen the feeding times in between. But you got to stimulate them to go to the bathroom. You have to weigh them between feedings. You have to make sure they're slowly gaining weight. You actually
That's
have
intense.
to, Yeah, every 2 hours,
Yeah.
like a baby, right?
Yeah.
And the you know when the kitten's gonna thrive when when the kitten makes its first poo and
Mhm.
when they start to purr. That were the
Oh,
two
okay.
signs we would know, right?
Yeah.
Besides waking and all the other stuff. And so during that period of time, when my daughter was sleeping, because she slept pretty much, except for the few hours she was awake to eat, because she was in
Mhm.
recovery mode,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I would just lay the kittens on her. They'd be purring,
Oh,
she'd
yeah.
be sleeping, and that was the progression. And then I
Yeah.
noticed, because we had two Shih Tzu dogs at the time, they needed to be walked all the time.
Yeah.
I noticed I'm not remembering the walks. Well, how do I get more present with the walks? Oh, wait, let me do what I started doing in dance, which was to tune into my five senses: smell, taste, hearing, feeling my feet, my hands on the leashes, my feet in my shoes, my hands on the leashes, and then opening up my peripheral vision. Now, here's the thing, you got to be really careful, because I walked off the curb quite a number of times trying to tune into all five senses, or
Yeah.
walking my dogs, trying to avoid traffic, and I've walked off the curb.
Yeah.
So when you first start to do this, you kind of want to do it like every day, when I'm brushing your teeth. When you're brushing
Yeah.
your teeth or getting dressed, you try and do five senses at the same time. Eventually, the goal is to be able to do that when you're walking.
Yeah.
And then I noticed, oh, if I'm really mad at my husband and I did that, I wouldn't get as mad at him, because I wasn't connecting the one thing he was doing right now that was pissing me off.
Yeah.
I wasn't connecting it with something in the past or worrying about the future, like he was going to leave me or something like that. I could get right present. Oh, he's just being stupid at this moment.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, all right. This isn't like, me, it's all him. Okay, now how
Yeah.
can I help him get out of this situation or this,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I think
So that's
peripheral is
what
so
started.
powerful too. Like
Yeah.
I use peripheral a good amount of times, and I think when I go into peripheral, I then ask myself, where can I focus right now? And
Mhm.
I think that's so great that you did mention periphery, because I think people are so, like you said, focused, hyper focused on this is what I have right in front of me. And
Mhm.
then what's just ahead of, we can make it there. And I was just talking to someone yesterday about running, right? And how we want to make it to that point. Cool, let's look at that. Now, what's next? And so I think that's great that you're saying about putting that into practice, because it's not something that we just naturally do.
It's not. It's not. And to be quite honest with everybody right now, right? We're post the panini, the
Hmm.
pandemic. I call it the panini. Everyone has
Yeah.
different
I
definitions, right?
call it the video.
The video, right? So we're post this period where literally the world was in chaos and
Hmm.
still not able to process. It's like we all had to disassociate to some degree to get through every day, right? And it's kind of mind numbing where we all have globally survived together.
Hmm.
And I feel in my bones, Carla, that about 90% of the people haven't come back yet into their bodies. And when you get present, tuning into your five senses, doing breath work, and then especially the peripheral vision thing, it pulls you right to the present. And then you really understand, well, what do I need to do next? What's really important in my life? What do I want to keep, and who do I need to say goodbye to?
For sure. And then because we've been talking about this, how important is all this awareness and getting in touch with your body, being aware, like my feet on the ground, my hands on the leash, right? Where am I going? Oh, I'm walking off the curb. Oops. Let me go back to that, right? That's okay. It's practice. And along this journey for you, right? Obviously, there's a huge correlation here. You talk about neuroscience. There's correlation between mental and physical health. And I'm even going to add the emotional and spiritual health, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
How does that play into your life? And like, what would you say is like a key thing there for you?
For me, it's the once I'm present, and my approach is called the outside in approach, and not the outside has an I'm on your outside. It's your outside, your physical body, which holds a lot of answers for you and me, like my body. When I do muscle testing or when I'm really connected with my present,
Mm.
I'll get answers to things that when I'm not present, I can't figure out the answers to.
Yeah,
Why is that really important? Because we're all born into this lifetime. This is my belief, of course, right? I'm feeling more and more people resonating with this. We're born into this lifetime with a purpose, and it's our mission. We go through life experiences to be fortified to have the tools for this mission. And I don't want to waste this chance to have had a second chance at life and not fulfill my mission, right? And my mission is to, right now at least, until it shifts and I gather another tool for another mission to come up. But one of my missions in this lifetime is to help women and men past the age of 40 right now understand that you're not in your body, and or as we shift into that second spring of life, we may start to second guess why we're here. And yet it's a privilege, y'all, to be over 40. It's a privilege afforded to few people. It's a privilege to be a survivor of anything. We're all very privileged to be here after this period, this global epidemic, right? It's a privilege to be in your 60s because our business isn't done yet. And how do you be in touch with that? Whether it's just being kind to your neighbor, and that was your sole purpose, and to do that consistently, or to be a part of a volunteer global reach somewhere, right? Or your job is, your sole purpose you elected to do is to be financially successful so that you can back a non-for-profit type of event that's providing water to another country. What is your purpose? And people, it feels like an over asked question, and I think because it's over asked but few people know the answer, I'm like, why don't we all know the answer? Why don't we know the answer?
Yeah, I think the reason some people don't know is, I don't know, maybe they're not doing the work and they're always going to be in that why. Whereas I think you and I, we've learned a little bit of that communication, maybe a little more than that, a little bit, right? But I think
Well,
we've put in the work and that practice. And I think it's a blessing that you're here. You've survived that, that cancer that no longer is, present, that's no longer yours, that you fought this. And I'm sure a lot of mindset had to go into that. Even if maybe you weren't present in your body, there must have been something that you were saying during this time.
I want to be really clear that
Hmm.
the nurses, the oncology nurses, had actually, when my husband was going through his testicular cancer back
Hmm.
in 92, 91, 92, the nurses said to him back then, you have a curable type of testicular cancer. Now, if you were born 40 years ago, we would ask you to put your affairs in order, but you're not. You're born at a time. It's a fairly aggressive treatment. However, you will live. You will live, especially since you're electing
Heck
for
yeah.
chemotherapy, right?
That's cool that
And
they told
then
him that. Yeah.
they told him that, and they said, here's the thing though, your attitude's going to completely affect what we do.
Hmm.
We've had people who were told they had 1 year to live, lived 7 years after because they're like, no,
Yeah.
I got this. And they did everything that they could to help and assist the chemotherapy and the surgery and all the treatments.
Hmm.
And then they've had people who were told, you have curable cancer. And they decided, oh, I have cancer. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And they were gone within 6 months.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's completely your choice and how you look at this. And so my husband, who had the testicular cancer, he went through the 10 cycles of chemo with a break in between, and then he was back to work within 3 months. Now,
Wow.
the doctors didn't want him to do that. He decided he had to do that. Right?
Cool. It was his
However,
choice.
look,
Yeah.
yeah, and then looking at him now, 20 something years later, you wouldn't know, right? Well, almost 30 now because our kids are 26. So you wouldn't ever know that he had testicular cancer, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, he's had different surgeries, emergency bowel obstruction surgery from his cancer treatment 19 years later. And he still bounced back so fast. People were like, you're like a walking miracle. This is
Yeah.
the same man who has a baby, stopped breathing, and they shot adrenaline into his heart. He's like a cat with 9 lives, or more like
Yeah.
18 lives, right?
That's amazing.
And right. And I remember from that, having nursed him through that period, my attitude was everything. So I danced throughout my treatment. I
Yeah.
was doing events and sponsoring events and having my family move into an RV so I could house 30 dancers in my house during my chemo treatment because I was like, well, I want to do this. Artist was just amazing, and I wanted to make it possible to pay her full value and also provide dancers the opportunity to dance with her
Hmm.
and learn from her. But usually you travel somewhere and it's too expensive because you got to house. So I housed and I fed them so they could be a part of this event
Yeah.
during my treatment.
Yeah. Wow. It's so powerful that you decide. I mean, I've said it before, the power of your choice and how you view things and your perspective in that. And the fact that you chose to still dance, and I love dance. Dance is so powerful just to get in your body, but also it's like the escape, but also in your body. And it's fun at the same time. You're not thinking about all the other crap going on, right? You're just thinking of how you love this, the music, right? Because music can be so healing as well in the
Yes.
process. So I always tell people be aware of what you listen to. Like, there's nothing wrong of like what you listen to as long as you have awareness behind that. But it's so powerful to like combine it, and it's like magic, I think. And so I love that you used the dance in a way through your healing, maybe for your healing journey, but throughout the healing. And that your family got to see this too, because kids model, kids
Oh,
model
for
the
sure.
what they
Hmm.
see. And so your daughter seeing you heal, and of course the cats were a huge emotional support, I'm assuming there, how that they get to model, and now they're college students like doing, and or maybe even one is a graduate, right? So
Yeah.
so like them doing things for themselves and for their growth, it's so cool. And also your husband, like what a freaking trooper. Like he's like, I'm going back to work in 3 months. There's a certain kind of people that I think are the ones who are able to do that, and sometimes it just comes naturally to them. I think some of us have to work for it, but some people are like, I'm gonna work, and I think that's what keeps them going.
Oh,
Hey.
my eyelash came off. I'm gonna take the other one off.
All
We're,
right.
we're doing like real talk with Carla here.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah,
Eyelashes coming off. Real talks over here.
yeah, I know we're allowed like take the earrings
She
out.
still looks amazing though.
Put my
So,
hair up. Yeah. So like for me, it's been very much like one of those things where the attitude was always I'd be like, oh no, I'm not really feeling nerve damage in my feet, and like literally like I couldn't feel my legs
yeah,
between below the knee, right?
yeah,
And then afterwards when the chemo was done, I was going into radiation. I'd be like, I feel my toes, and they're like, no, you don't. You have
yeah,
like
yeah.
phantom toe because once the nerve damage is
Oh,
done,
interesting.
right? You're it. That's why they would remind me. Well, that's why we asked you, would you like your chemotherapy reduced? And I
Mm-hmm.
would be like, oh, I don't need it. They're like, no, no, you need it. However, we don't want your quality of life to be affected as a dancer. And I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
what? So you're going to ask me choose? Like, do I have to choose between like, complete cure so I can see my kids grow up, or, partial
Mm-hmm.
cure and be in danger of the chemo, like the
Like
chemo
coming
not
back.
hitting every,
Yeah,
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 the chemo not hitting every single cancer cell and the cancer coming back. I was like, no, fire it up. Give me the full 16 treatments.
yeah.
Right. And um, part of the recovery, though, since then has been, oh, yeah, I decided to go through the Western route of treatment, which means there's severe side effects.
Yeah.
And as I come back more into my body and like feel the pain of my childhood and feel the
Mm-hmm.
pain of post chemotherapy, right? There's a fortifying truth in though, and actually an acknowledging versus denying. Oh, I'm not in pain. Life is great. Rose colored lenses type of thing, Carla. Because it's like if we're really honest about certain things about how, like, where we are, where the world is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus uh, if we're more honest and still able to do joyful celebration of being alive, like I said, being a privilege that we're still here,
Yeah.
versus me going, oh, everything's great. You are great. I'm great. I don't see color, that kind of thing. It comes off like I feel like I have less impact on the world because people will see through my BS. I want people to know when they're here with you and your community, right? That
Mm-hmm.
Carla and we know life is hard behind the scenes. Like it's hard. And we
And
got you,
yes.
right? We got you. There are still ways to be, oh my God, all these things that are so different from when we were growing up that we thought were
Mm-hmm.
already cemented.
Yeah.
And here we are, they're not. And still have joy in, our littles growing up and meeting an amazing friend,
Mm-hmm.
who happens to be a roommate at some event we never been to and
That we get to
forging
send reels.
lifelong thing. You see what I mean?
And we're
I
always
mean,
sending
like,
reels to each other.
yeah, we're sitting, oh, y'all gotta see the feed between us. Some of them, I'm like crying and laughing, going, Carl's gonna love this one. I just sent her 5. Doesn't matter. Number 6 and 7 is fine. She'll like these 2.
Yeah,
Like 3 in
yeah.
the morning.
But finding the right people too, I think is part of that, and being around the people that aren't gonna make you feel like the victim or feel shitty, pretty much. And I think that I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder and a genetic disorder a few years ago. And they told me, oh, you're always going to have these cysts in your brain. And they even told my mom years ago, because I had seizures when I was a baby. And they told her, your daughter's going to be on these meds and you're always going to get government check because she's whatever. And my mom was like, nope, my daughter's not going to get any of that. I'm glad, even though my mom didn't know much, I am
Yeah.
glad she chose that. And then I was fine for many, many, many years until something my conscious wanted to bring back up, right? And I had to become aware that, yo, I am not a victim. I am a victor here. I did take some meds for a little bit, and I was like, man, the doctor told me you're probably going to have osteoporosis if you continue to take this years after. And I was like, no, no, I'm not. I stopped that for myself. I became somehow more aware of my body, and I said, I am not the victim here. And I just had my family like, hey, I'm fine. They're like, okay, are you sure? Yes, I'm good. They're like, all right,
Yeah.
right, because they didn't know anything. And so I think your people, but a lot of it comes from us inside and how we want to view ourselves, like you said, on the outside. So I think it's so important that you've had that mindset and this kick-ass attitude, pretty much.
Well, you know what it is too, Carla. Like you know this, and I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of your community knows this, right? There is an empowerment and understanding, right? That,
Mm-hmm.
and actually just acknowledging, right? Life is hard. And the goal is to figure out how to still thrive in spite of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it. Like, now they're saying that most children experience big T or little t traumas no matter what, because there's a powerlessness to being a child, right? That
Mm-hmm.
not every parent just is born knowing how to be a parent. There's a learning curve. And
Yeah.
during that period of time, right, when you're the baby that doesn't understand why your needs aren't being met, some belief systems are set up that kind of guide us through most of our lives unless we're aware of it. And I
Yeah.
think that, you know, um, when I was first going into coaching, which I was really fearful of, okay, because like when I was in the dance industry, I had teachers that were very much of the scarcity mindset,
Yeah.
Carl. So it was always competition, competition. You didn't want your students to overpass you, or
Yeah.
a newcomer would go viral, and you would have this. Well, what does she do to deserve this, or does she
Yeah.
do enough study, type of thing, right?
Yeah. It's
Versus,
like this
right, that's a
envy.
big one.
Yeah.
Versus now, for me as a coach, I get excited when I meet people who are doing something similar to me,
Mm-hmm.
because when we come from a place of plentitude, because there's 8 billion people, I alone cannot help more than maybe a million or two. So we're the other ones going to come step forward to help the other millions that have to have the help, right, Carla? Because you can't do it alone, folks. I mean, you can't. So we need a community of people coming forward. And for me, I love the idea, because now I'm surrounding myself with people like you and other people where it's always this, thank goodness we understand what we each do.
Yeah.
Thank goodness that we overlap. Thank goodness that, you're doing this podcast, Carla, because the people who are looking for the way you are approaching the world, they're looking for you, and you're out there doing it. And then same for me. There are certain people that I completely resonate with, that totally need to hear the way I say things versus someone else says things. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
I've been to events where I'm like, what is she doing? I don't
Yeah.
understand it. But do I need to understand it? No, I don't. They're people that they're helping me to understand it. That's what's important.
Yeah. There's people like Jenny, there's people like me. We all have our way of having our message delivered to the world. And like you said, I love that you said that I'm one person who can maybe help a million, 2 million people. Hell yeah, we're gonna help a million, 2 million people times two, because there's two of us, right? And then
Yep.
whoever else we collaborate. And I love celebrating. You know, I've seen Jenny and she's been doing speaking things and like these amazing like pictures in this yellow dress. Go see her Instagram. And you know, all these really cool things. I'm like, yeah, heck yeah, do it. You know, go for it. And I love being able to be in a similar space, celebrating each other. And I think that's the cool thing about finding people with your similar mindset and your and in your environment that actually help you grow, that you get to celebrate versus the other feeling that I'm not even going to mention, right? That just doesn't feel so good. So let me ask you this, celebrating you, like what are you excited about? What is coming for Jenny that we can celebrate? What is coming for Jenny in your programs and all the things that you're doing.
Yay! Okay, so currently I have an embodiment membership where people get to do dance and stretch classes with me every day. I'm sorry, not every day. In my mind, I'm doing it with you every day.
Yes.
They're live classes 2 to 3 times a week. And because I wanted to make sure that everyone could afford to do it, they are subsidized by a nonprofit. So right now, it's very, very low cost to join for the rest of the year, and you get to party with us once a month. And then the other thing that I'm doing is launching a free webinar the end of every month where you get to do some intensive work with me. And that's really kind of what I'm focused on right now. My podcast, like your podcast, where I'm heading towards a 100 episode
Yes.
marker. Very excited about that. And if you find me on social media under Jenny C. Cohen, Cohen, then, and you send me, if you send me an instant message and tell me that you saw me on Carla's podcast, like just message me, go, Carla, then I'll know who you are. And
Yes.
then I
With a
can,
K, by the way.
yeah, no C, folks, right? I'm the C, Jenny C. Cohen, Carla
Yes.
with a K. It doesn't matter. Even if you do a C, I'll know who you're talking
Yeah.
about. You'll get a special present from me because we'll know that you're with me because through Carla. Cool?
That's
Now,
awesome.
anyone else who doesn't want to do that, I get it. Some of us don't want to be on social media, but they love being on this podcast with the streaming. If you just go to danceandheal, HEAL.com, you get to do a free class with me.
Awesome. That's so exciting. I am gonna like sign up to one of your classes. I gotta check it out. And so let me ask you this. If somebody wanted to learn from you or have you as a mentor or like just needed some guidance from you, what would be like one key thing that you would share with them?
The biggest thing is anytime you want to work with anyone, including me, right? You want to understand that our goal is not for me to give you the answers, okay? No, I'm sorry. That's the only time I'll ever say no to you. The goal to work with me is to untap and access the answers within you. And for you to learn your lifelong relationship you must have between mind and body and your soul and spirit, so that eventually, even if you continue working with me in the future, it's only to get you to get to the answers that you already know.
Wow, that's powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so thank you so much, Jenny, for being on here. This has been such a pleasure and honor. I know we didn't like have as many laughs as people would assume because we talk about each other all the time, but yeah, there's a laugh. I missed that. So thank you so much for being on here. If y'all want to tell us what you thought about this episode, what you learned, maybe what you're doing different, let us know. So with that being said, thank you so much, and until the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Remember, the conversations we have here are meant to spark growth, connection, and awareness that you can bring into your own journey. If you love this episode, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear this message. Remember, follow the podcast on Instagram at Metafit Metamind Podcast. Connect with me on my other page at Coach Carlita, and now on TikTok at Coach Carlita as well, where I share different content on mindset, communication, health, and all the things a little more personal. Until next time, keep raising your voice and share your story.